Good morning, everybody. Ian from RTO here. Welcome to. Before we start, we turn that down because I can hear myself. Welcome to Thursday. Thursday, of course, is Then and Now, also known as a discography history of a band. So today we are looking at one of the most influential English rock bands, The Who. Formed in London back in 1964 by Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend, and then they recruited John Entwistle on the bass and the one and only Mr. Keith Moon on drums. I mean, they are considered one of the most influential rock bands of the 20th century. Sold over 100 million records worldwide. Fantastic. They've also got contributions to rock music. They include the development of the Marshall Stat. Not many bands can say that. So they've been around a little while. Obviously, sadly, we've lost the band now, but Roger and Pete are still going strong. So their first album, released on the 3rd of December 1965, My Generation. It was released a year later in the America and called The Who Sings My Generation. The different cover and alternate, slightly altered tracks and bits added on. But I'm just concentrating on the original release. So on this album, of course, we've got Roger Daltrey on vocals, Pete Townshend on electric guitar, backing vocals and lead vocals on A Legal Matter, John Entwistle bass guitar and backing vocals, Keith Moon drums and backing vocals on some tracks, and we've got Nicky Hopkins that comes in and does all the piano work. So the producer of this album is Shell Tell Me. So the first track on the album is a track called Out in the Street. This is a little rock and roll number. Already we've got some great little riffs from Pete Townshend and John Entwistle's great bass line. Already, first track, sounds there. Second track is a cover of a James Brown number, I Don't Mind. Not a bad version of this great track from James Brown. Third track, The Good's Gone. This is really good. That sound of The Who is already there. And nice, really strong riffs from Pete, and again that great bass line from John Entwistle. Fantastic. La La Lies. It's not a bad song, it's not one of the better ones, but what's nice on here is the keyboard, the piano from Nicky Hopkins. Very good. Touch, Much Too Much. It's okay. I've never been a great fan of this song. I think the vocals alright, but the harmonies are sort of not up to what I call my sort of thing. They sound a little bit off kilter. Then we get, of course, the classic My Generation. Really great track. Unfortunately, it's one of them tracks now that if I never hear it again, I won't get upset if I never do. But sorry about that, folks, but it's just overplayed now. Still a classic song, mind you. But I do still love the bass line from John in that. It's just tremendous. Flip the album over. First track, another classic from The Who, The Kids Are Alright. Really, really good song that is. One of my favourites by the band. Then we do another James Brown cover, Please, Please, Please. I don't think they can carry this. There's only one person that can sing that. That's James himself. Then we get a track called It's Not True. Just a nice steady rock song from the 60s. Then we get another cover, I'm a Man, Bo Diddley. It's actually a pretty good version of it. Nothing wrong with that one. Illegal Matter. Pete sings the lead vocal on this. Not a bad song. Very, very good guitar lines as well. Then we get my favourite track on the album, The Ox. What makes this brilliant is the drumming of Keith Moon. He's on fire on this, and you can just imagine him. I mean, he has been described like an octopus. I just loved his drumming. Man as a box of frogs, but a nice guy, and he died far too young. And the other great thing about this again is John Entwistle's bass line, absolutely stonking. Okay, what do I think of this album? It's like most legendary bands, isn't it? The first album is always a mixture of some of their own stuff and covers. They were more into doing the singles at the time. I mean, at this time you got Can't Explain come out, but it was all about singles in them days and not albums. But I'd say this is a pretty decent first album up for The Who. Showed their potential of what they were going to do. They didn't sound like the Beatles, they didn't sound like the Stones. The Who to me have always been a little bit more heavier. I mean, I love all three of those bands. You know, three great bands in the 60s, and they're still pretty popular today. So what did the fans and the critics think? Well, it got to number 5 in the NME charts. Pretty cool for a debut album. Got gold certification. And then All Music has given it 5 stars. Great Rock Discography gave it 7 out of 10. The Guardian 4 stars. Louder Sound 4. Rolling Stone give it 4. The Rolling Stone album guide though gave it 5 stars. I mean, obviously these weren't done at the time because they weren't around, of course, but it just shows that this album has still got a lot of weight behind it. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this album. Okay, song quality. Of course, it's got a few covers on there, but it also has got The Kids Are Alright, My Generation. My Generation is one of the most iconic rock songs ever. Everyone relates to it. So I'm going to give it, for song quality, I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5. The production. I mean, the original obviously was recorded in mono. It sounds all right, and I've heard the stereo version of it now, and the production is pretty good, even for 1964-65. It's clear. It's not muffled. It is very, very good. So I'm going to give production 4 out of 5. Reception. Coming in at number 5 on your debut, pretty good. And it's one of them albums that no one gets tired of. Part of rock history now. I love it. It's out of the 3 of the big bands of them, Beatles, Who and the Rolling Stones. This is the heaviest one. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 for reception. So that gives it an RTO ranking of 11 out of 15. Okay, as on Thursdays, hold on to your hats. We're going to get in the time machine and we're going to move on a whopping 54 years to 2019 for the 12th studio album. Now, they haven't made many albums, have they, really? Because they were more a singles band back in the early days, and so this is only their 12th album, and the most current come out a few years ago, released on the 6th of December 2019, just simply called Who. It's the first album in 13 years. It's the second overall, comprising of the duo of just Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend. They've got other people on here. So we've got Roger Daltrey obviously on the lead vocals, Peter Townshend on the guitars, and we've got Pino Palladino on the bass, Zach Starkey drums on a few of the tracks, Ben Mount-Tench on organ and mellotron. Isn't it great to hear mellotron on an album in the 2000s? Also we got Joey Waronker on drums, Carla Azar plays drums on this, Matt Chamberlain does a bit of drumming, Guy Safer on the bass, Andrew Snowiek on acoustic guitar, and Gordon Giltrap on acoustic guitar. Produced by Pete Townshend, Dave Sardi with Bob Peridian and Dave Engra. Okay, tracks on here. This is a really good album actually. First track, All This Music Must Fade. This just sounds like a classic Who song. Them great riffs, great vocal from Roger, still sounds really good. Okay, he's gone down a couple of octaves, but it's still a very strong voice. Next track is Ball and Chain. Again, really good track, really got that driving Pete Townshend riffs, you know, very distinctive sound. Next song, I Don't Want to Get Wise. This is a little bit different, goes away from that classic Who sound, but it's still a very good track. Very good track. Detour, again, very solid track. Little bit different again, but it's still very good. You know, you can't all make a whole album full of songs that sound like my Generation and Who's Best stuff, and you know, they're great musicians, and Pete Townshend's a great musician and writer, composer, whatever you want to call him. And it's a very good song. Beads on a track, string. Okay, this is one track that's not very good. I don't particularly like it. Then we get Hero, Ground Zero. This is a great track. Reminds me of Love Reign Over Me a bit. That sort of vein, that sort of style. Very, very good. Street song. Not too bad at all. Very listenable. It's a little bit different. I'll Be Back. Probably one of the weaker tracks on the album, but it doesn't make it a bad track. Break the News. It's very 60s sounding. Nothing wrong with that. And then we got my favourite track on the album, Rockin' in Rage. This is a Who classic without a doubt. It's got all the elements that you need to say this is a Who classic. She Rocked My World. It's probably a weak track. It doesn't sound right, doesn't do anything. This Gun Will Misfire, brilliant track. Really got them signature riffs. I think the only thing that's missing from it is that great John Entwistle bass. That would be the perfect track then, but it still goes back to the heyday of the Who. Got Nothing to Prove. It's really got that 60s feel, and the lyrics are great. You know, as I say, they've got nothing to prove. They do this because they love music. Then Danny and My Ponies, I'd say that's a bit of a filler. Doesn't sound particularly good. Okay, this is a pretty solid album. Lots of that old classic sounding Who sound that's just been brought up to date. It sounds fantastic. Roger Daltrey sounds fantastic. Again, he's one of them singers, as you get older your voice changes, but while they're doing that, Pete, when they write these songs now, they don't make them so they're high. I mean, you listen to the older stuff live now, they've changed the key, and that's why it sounds so good live still. There's some great riffs on this. Absolutely stunning stuff. Very enjoyable album, and I'd say it's one of their best ones in a long, long time. I mean, you've got to go back probably to the 70s. This is their best album since the 70s. That's how good it is. I wonder where I'd put it if I'd rank the whole of the Who tracks, albums. You know what to do if you want to find out. Put it in the comments box below, and we'll have a full ranking of the Who, like any band. Okay, I liked it. So what do the fans and the critics think of it? Very positive reviews from the critics. Fans loved it. In the writer for the Chicago Tribune, Paolo Guldini, complimented Daltrey for singing with power, sensitivity, range and conviction, just as he's done for decades, and called Pete Townshend's voice a highlight, while still ripping power chords and performing slinky riffs. And he just said, what a joy to listen to. So how did it do in the album charts? Well, UK charts got to number 3, which was outstanding. The Billboard, it got to number 2. So both sides of the pond thought this was great, and it was great. All Music gave it a 4 stars. The Guardian 4. The Independent only gave it a 3. NME gave it 4. Rolling Stone nearly gave it 4. And the Telegraph gave it 4. So song quality, excellent songs. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with the writing on this. Pete Townshend at his best. Really put a lot of effort into this. So I'm going to give it song quality a 4 out of 5. Production, excellent production again. Pete Townshend is quite a good producer. He knows what he wants, and he doesn't accept second best. And it's a brilliantly produced album. Everything sounds fantastic on it. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Reception. Everybody loved it. I remember when I first heard it, I thought it was a fantastic album, a great rock album, and you think of all the bands that are around, and you think these have been going since '65, and they can come along and show some of these youngsters this is how you make a proper rock album. So I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 because everybody seemed to love it. So this gives us a total of 13 out of 15. So it pips the debut, and rightly so in this case, because this album is just pure brilliance. You know, from Roger's singing down to the guitar work of Pete Townsend and all the musicians involved, they put out an absolute belter of an album. Okay, so what happened in between then? Well, it was quite an up and down career, really. They made another album in 1966 called A Quick One. Got some good tracks on here. Run, Run, Run. Nice harmonies in that. Then you get a song called Boris the Spider. Great. It's a silly song, but a great bass line from John Entwistle on that. I Need You. Not the best track. Whiskey Man. Not too bad. John Entwistle's bass line is pretty good on that. Then they do a really good version of Heat Wave. Ken the Martha and Vandellas. Not a bad sort of version. Cobwebs and Strange. This is an instrumental. But sometimes you just wonder what's going on in Keith Moon's brain. He wrote this. Instrumental, but fantastic drumming. Don't Look Away. Not too bad. See My Way isn't too bad. So Sad About Us. One of my favourite Who tracks. Great little track. Quick One While He's Away. It's alright. And the last track, it depends what version of the album you've got. Now, my version has got the Batman theme. And what you got to remember as well, in between this, they were releasing singles as well. And the singles were more successful than the albums. So the next album, 1967's The Who Sell Out. Yeah, what a dodgy cover that is. Opens up with Armenia City in the Sky. I just can't get him on with that one at all. Then we get Heinz Baked Beans, just a silly bit of nonsense, just doesn't do anything. Mary Ann with a Shaky Hand, that's not too bad. Ondorando, love Pete's guitar work on that, absolutely. Tattoo, you got a nice little song with some lovely harmonies. Our Love Was, that's alright. Then we get the classic I Can See for Miles, again one of my favourite tracks by The Who. The Who. Can't Reach You, that's another good solid track. Medak, one of these pointless silly songs, 51, 59, 57 seconds. Relax, solid enough. Silas Stingy, not very good at all. Sunrise, like this one, quite pastiche, nice guitar. Then we get Rail 1 and 2. This is the start of, I think, Pete's fascination for epics and mini epics. Very good. Now, at this time, the albums weren't selling and they were making singles, but you can't live off singles. So they were at a bit of a junction in their career. And they really had to come up with something to save their career. So what did they come up with? They only come up with Tommy in 1969. Took the world by storm. It's still a great album. We got the overture. Gives you a little intro what's coming. It's a Boy. It's okay. 1921's on here. Amazing Journey. One of my favourite bits of music on that. The bass line from Johnny is just absolutely fantastic. Sparks, Great drumming from Mr. Moon, of course. The Hawker, pretty good. Christmas, Cousin Kevin, pretty cool. The Acid Queen, I love this. Love Tina Turner's version. Love the Who's version. Detour, great piece of music. Keith's drumming is just fantastic. Do You Think It's Alright? Fiddle About. Then we get the Mighty Pinball Wizard. Still one of the best tracks. There's a Doctor. Go to the Mirror. This is my favourite track off the album. I love that track. Tommy, Can't You Hear Me? Another short track. It's too short actually. That could have gone on a little bit more. Smash the Mirror Again. Should have been a longer track. Sensation, not too bad. Miracle Cure, bit too short. Sally Simpson, another highlight of the album, really good track. I'm Free, some great riffs in that. Welcome, again one of my favourite pieces of music. The harmonica on this is fantastic. A little bit of nonsense called Tommy's Hardy Can, and We're Not Gonna Take It. Great way to end the album. The album that saved the Who's career. Then we come, and then in 1971 we came up with Who's Next. This is a brilliant album. I'm not going to say if it's my favourite or not, because just in case someone says, Ian, are you going to do the album ranking of the Who? But of course it's got some great tracks on here. Opens up with Baba O'Reilly. I'd say this is the greatest intro of all time on any song ever. It's just brilliant. Brilliant track in it for a start. Then we get Bargain. Dual singing here. You get Roger doing the verses, Townsend doing the bridge. Some great drumming from Keith on this one, of course. Love Ain't For Keeping. A bit bluesy rock, very good song. My Wife. More stunning guitar riffs from Pete Townsend, and a fantastic vocal again from Roger. Then when the song is over, I love the part that's singing here. You've got Townsend doing the verses, Daltrey doing the choruses, and they really mix that well. Getting in Tune, little gem. Well, that tracks that's overlooked because it's got so many good tracks. Great piano on that, fantastic. Going Mobile, solid. Behind Blue Eyes, love the harmonies in this, great track. Then we get the brilliant Won't Get Fooled. Again, one of my favourite tracks. That intro is fantastic. Very iconic. Great album. Move on to 1973. Another brilliant album comes out. Another rock opera. Quadrophenia. Love this film anyway. It's a great film. One of the iconic films. We got I Am the Sea. It's just a lot of sea noises. Can't really comment. The Real Me. Great rocker. Love the drums from Keith. Great bass line again from John Entwistle. We got the title track Quadrophenia. Gentle piece of music. Fantastic. Cut My Hair. Great track. Great rock guitar work there. The Punk and the Godfather. Again, you got lots of great riffs from Pete. Deep, heavy bass line from John Entwistle. Fantastic. I'm the One. Another great track. The Dirty Jobs. Interesting that the keyboard sounds a little bit before its time. Something you'd expect on something in the 80s. Helpless Dancer. This is Roger's theme. It includes the intro to The Kids Are Alright from My Generation. Clever how they integrate that track. Very good. Is It In My Head? Another. This is Roger Daltrey and John Entwistle sharing the singing. It's a great song. I've Had Enough. Highlights of this is Keith Moon's drumming and that bass line again from John Entwistle, fantastic. 5:15, classic track. Love the horns in this, brilliant. Sea and Sand, awesome track. Drowned, more great horns, great guitar work on this. Bellboy, the only good thing about it is the drumming, and everything else is pretty naff. Dr. Jimmy, I find this a little bit too long. It needs to be a bit shortened. The Rock, nice piece of instrumental work from the guys, fantastic. And then it's got my favourite track off the album, Love Rain Home for Me, brilliant track. Okay, next up from the Who by Numbers, 1975, Slip Kid. I don't like it. I find this album a little bit weak, to be quite honest. It's not their best album. How much booze, however much I booze, sorry. It's an awful track. I just don't like it. It's funky country, doesn't suit the Who. Squeeze Box, great track, one of the best ones on the album. Dreaming from the Waist, average song, just doesn't do much for me, that one. Imagine a Man, it's okay. Success Story, my favourite track on the album, really upbeat, very good rock track. They're All in Love, it's too ballady, it doesn't suit the Who. Blue and Grey, it's okay. How Many Friends, I'm not keen on that one either. All I'll say is it's one of the least played albums by the Who, by me. In a Hand or a Face, like this track, one of the best ones on the album. Then we come to 1978. Sadly, this would be Keith's last album. Not long after this album came out, sadly he passed. First track, New Song. I like the guitar riff in this, and the bass line is awesome. Had Enough. It's got a little bit of synthy sound on it, and this doesn't sound right on a Who album. 905, very catchy song, great bass line. Sister Disco, not very good for me. I don't like that one at all. Music Must Change, solid track. Love that track. Trick of the Light, great rocker. One of the better tracks on the album. Guitar and Pen, I sometimes struggle with this. Love Is Coming Down, has to be one of the worst tracks that whoever recorded. But everything's brought back up to quality with Who Are You. Love that track. Love the video to it. Keith is on fire, and it's so sad that he wouldn't be with us much after this. Sad, but he was having a whale of a time. Okay, and then all of a sudden Keith passes and we don't hear much from the Who at all. Then in 1981 they re-emerge and they have a new drummer. Ex-Faces, Kenny Jones. Not the best fit for this band, but he's a solid drummer. He fits in with the era. So you've still got Roger, Pete and John, and Kenny joins them. First track is one of my favourite songs of all time, actually. Better You Bet. I love that song. Good way to start the album. Don't let go the coat. Really good track. Bit different, but it's a very good track. Cachet Cachet. This is a proper Who track. Sounds fantastic. The Quiet One. Another great track. Got some great riffs from Pete. Kenny's drumming is fantastic on that though, really is solid. Did You Steal My Money? Don't like that at all. How Can I Do You? How Can You Do It Alone? Great vocal from Roger, fantastic. Daily Records, nice melody, nice riffs, good track. Yes, great driving riffs on this, both from Peter and John, good track. Another Tricky Day, pretty good track, excellent track. Then in 1982, got another album. Sadly, this would be John Entwistle's last album. Sadly, he died as well. It's okay, this album. It's got a couple of good ones, but it's not as strong as the previous album. Athena, that is classic Who. Awesome track. It's Your Turn, strong track. Cooks County, good track. Hooey. It's Hard, not a very good song, but a great guitar solo from Pete. Dangerous, pretty poor. I just don't get it on it. Eminence Front. No, I think we're struggling here. I've known no war. That is a good track. Great vocal from Roger on this. One's Life's Enough. Very lacklustre. Doesn't do anything to me. Then that one at a time. The only good thing on that is John Entwistle. Why Did I Fall for That? Nice bass line from John Entwistle, and that's the only thing I can say about that. Man Is a Man. They're running out of ideas now. They're drying up. It just doesn't sound right. Cry If You Want. Nice riff from Peter, but it's a little lacklustre again. So that's 1982. They get together and do Live Aid, which was totally ruined by the sound, so we didn't get My Generation. And then they sort of fell off the planet a little bit again. So they didn't appear again till 2006, Endless Wire. By this time it's only Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend left from the original band, but they get John Bundrick on Hammond, Simon Townsend back in Volos, first appearance of Pino Palladino on bass guitar. Zach Starkey plays drums on one track, but Pete Townshend plays the drums on the other songs. He plays vocals, bass guitar, drums, keyboards, violin, banjo, mandolin, plays everything. Fragments, trying to recreate Baba O'Reilly here, and it just fails to deliver. A Man in a Purple Dress, nice track, great singing from Roger. Mike Post theme, naff, worst singing I've heard by Roger Daltrey ever. In the Ether, another bad track. Black Widow's Eyes, this is the one that Starkey plays drums on. Oh, my throat's drying up. Oh dear, excuse me a minute. Oh, that's better. Well, a little bit. Where we get to, in Ether, bad track. Black Widow's Eyes, that's it. One of the better tracks. 2000 Years. Nice mandolins, but it sounds something that should have been on Led Zeppelin 3. God Speaks of Marty Robbins. It just lacks something there. It's just not very good. It's Not Enough. Yeah, one of the better tracks on the album. I like that one. You Stand By Me. It's just 1 minute 30 seconds of rubbish. Then he decides to try and do a little mini opera called Wire in the Glass, trying to create something like Tommy or mini Quadrophenia. It doesn't work at all. I find it a little dull and boring, unfortunately. So that's the Who in a nutshell. I'm so glad this was not the last album, because it was not a very good album at all. But the Who blows this one out of the water. So that's that one done. As I said before, if you want me to do a full ranking of the Who's albums, put it in the comments. A lot of people are starting to do that now. In the last week we've had 4 requests, and some of them have been done because they are my favourite bands. There's a couple of bands that I haven't got much of their stuff, so I've found it all, so I'm listening to that, and that's Accept. I haven't got much Accept, but I'm enjoying what I'm listening to, so it does work. You get my grey cells working. Okay, we'll be back later with album artwork, cultural show. We're going to look at the artwork of some of, the studio albums of Steve Hackett. And then obviously it's Thursday, we've got a little update. Just to let you know, next Thursday there is no update video because I'm going to do it live. I just fancy doing it live. I will do it, it'll be from 8:30 onwards next Thursday. Hope you come and join us. We're going to have a bit of an open forum, which will be good. So I'll tell you more about that later in the update. Until then, I will see you later. Bye for now.